G'day, Bomber fans. Well, the VFL Dons lost their 10th game in a row on the weekend. It was probably the most exciting we've looked in a while, for the future at least. We had 7 AFL-listed players, not many, but pretty much every single one of them at some stage of the game, or for most parts, looked good. So that is fun. Now, the game itself, it started off looking bleak. Sydney kicked about 6 goals in 10 seconds. At quarter time, it was 45-3. In the end, we woke up, made things closer, lost by 35. Probably should have been less, but yeah, let's talk about the AFL-listed players. Keep in mind for this particular game, when we discuss these guys, that it was very wet, maybe after half-time. There was still rain before the game, so conditions were always at least slippery, but in the third and fourth quarter, it was bucketing down. It was brutal conditions. So yeah, let's get into it. Starting off with Kayle Gerreyn, he was excellent. He was yet again playing deep down in the back line, which is very new for him. He hasn't played there before. He looks natural though. His contested marking in the wet was a highlight. His reading of the play and intercepting was really good. He finished the game with 10 intercept possessions, which for a ruck or forward in their second game as a key defender third game as a key defender is pretty special. His ball use out of D50 was pretty nutty. For a big man, he really does he leans back and picks out targets most of the time with ease. One thing, or maybe two things are holding him back. One is that he is very relaxed by foot. It looks good. 90% of the time, that is fantastic. But very early in the game, there was a 15-meter kick-in that he missed, and as a result, it turned into a goal over his head. It was pretty shocking. So he does need to be a bit more, I guess, focused and intent-driven with some of his ball use, especially in the back half. You can get away with that playing up the field, but in the back half, you really can't. And the other thing that he probably needs to work on is his defensive positioning a bit. It's sometimes not the best, but I mean, it's his third game. I'd be very surprised if it was the best. Really, you'd expect that from him. So yeah, really impressive stuff overall from this kid. I'm at this stage, I'm thinking next year we just keep this experiment going. He's kicked goals up forward. He's had some great moments in front of the sticks, but his size and strength and ball use and contested marking, it makes him a genuinely good defensive prospect. And the fact that he's looked so reliable, as he did in the wet, in a new position, that's something we should be thinking about a lot more. So yeah, he seriously looks really good back there. 17 touches, 15 kicks, 2 contested marks, and then the 10 intercepts as well. Yeah, awesome stuff from Gerreyn. He was playing really well in tougher conditions for a tall. Alwyn Davey Jnr was, again, really productive in this new position. 18 touches, 9 kicks, I'd say a few meters gained. Those stats aren't in the VFL, but he was going forward a lot, moving well with the footy, breaking lines. I was most impressed by his defensive work in this particular game. I thought he had some really big contests, sometimes against bigger players. There was one with Aaron Francis at one stage, which he brought to ground. And the thing is, with a wetter ball, it is easier to bring it to ground, especially on bigger opponents. It's harder to mark. But I thought he was defending really well. He was closing down with rapid speed. There was almost a lovely highlight in the second quarter where he got the ball outside 50, sold some candy, ran to 40 out, went for goal, and I think hit the post. That would have been an awesome moment. But no, like with Gerreyn, swung back down to defence and to good effect. He is now a rebounding defender and playing the best footy I've seen him play in a long time. Consistent footy too, which is good. Yeah, he was good yet again. Rhys Unwin, how good was this guy? It looked like he'd skipped the 2026 pre-season and was playing the type of footy that we're expecting him to be playing next year. That is the way I was feeling watching this game. It seemed like it was 2026 Rhys Unwin. He just looked more experienced. He looked more ready for the contest. It was awesome. I don't know where it came from. He was playing right in the guts as well in the midfield, full-time midfield minutes. The game started with him getting an in and under clearance in the first few seconds, and it didn't slow down from there. He finished up with 23 touches, 5 clearances, 4 tackles, a goal, our first goal of the game for the Bombers. Almost got another lovely goal from a snap near the 50-meter mark, but narrowly missed. Yeah, he was the best of our AFL listed players, I reckon. He was brilliant. His evasive work to avoid tackles is so good. The lateral movement and the smarts that this guy has inside the contest, he's still a twig. That's the thing holding him back right now. He gets shoved off the ball so easily at times, but his smarts and just toughness as well really forced him to be bigger than he is in this game at least. Some of his tackling pressure as well. There was one really strong holding the ball tackle in the middle of the ground, which a kid of his weight really shouldn't be able to do. And even just strong overhead marks in the wet. Little things like that, which we hadn't really gotten good glimpses of yet. he looked so much more ready than he has all year. I'm not saying that he's ready for AFL footy. All you need to do is take one look at him next to Taylor Adams and you'll see why he probably isn't. But yeah, there's a bit to work with. That was a really good game. He's best for Essendon by a mile. I think we'll see him play midfield a fair bit more now to round out the year, just, because he looks so good there. The one criticism I do have, and this is a nitpick on my behalf, I don't like players that duck for head-high free kicks. I think, those rules are going to eventually harshen a bit. I don't want a Nick Watson 2.0 on the list. I don't want to be cheering head-high free kicks. It was only, I think, 2 times that I noticed, or maybe 2 or 3 times that I noticed it. And once he builds muscle, he probably won't have to rely on that anymore, hopefully. But yeah, aside from that little nitpick, I loved everything he did. He really was the highlight in this performance. He was very good. Big Vigo Visentini. This was a fun little matchup he had. So he was up against Will Green, who was drafted last year to the Swans. From memory, I think he was a first-round draftee, or at least he was projected to be a first-round draftee. That's something that always bothers me a bit, is where they finish and where they were projected. But either way, he was a highly rated ruck prospect, and he's been playing very well this year for the Swans Green. A game like this is very important to show us Bomber fans where Vigo is at. So he is a developing ruck for the future, and I guess this game showed us that because it was a very good matchup between 2 rucks who are probably not ready to play AFL footy. So Vigo had the 12 touches, 34 hitouts, 3 tackles, 3 clearances. Green had 13 touches, 20 hitouts, and 8 clearances. He was probably in and out of the ruck a tiny bit more than Vigo, but I thought it was a pretty even battle between the two. I thought Vigo showed a fair bit resting behind the ball early before the conditions got really bad. I liked his direct tap work. I feel like he was the superior pure ruck of the two. There were plenty of taps that really gave us a leg up in the guts. Some really clever little taps here and there. But yeah, I don't think this was close to his most impactful game. There were some iffy moments that I thought showed some inexperience, which is fine. The main drawback is him being raw and inexperienced. That's good. That's what we want, because he is raw and he is inexperienced. He's still a baby. But yeah, some little moments here and there. There was one that I didn't like. There was a bubbling ball on ground level in space. He could have picked it up, but instead, because he fumbled the first time, he socketed it backwards to a teammate and handed off the problem to someone else, and that kind of put pressure on them, and that moment resulted in a Sydney shot on goal. Little things like that, but nah, for the most part he was decent. He was doing more good than bad, which is usually the case with Vigo. Next week he goes up against Toby Conway, who is Geelong's prime ruck going forward. I know many want him to play AFL footy, which is fair, but I would really like to see him go up against Toby Conway in the VFL. That is going to be a really fun matchup, so keep an eye on that one. Zak Johnson, my boy, back in the VFL. He looked really good. Looked a bit iffy early, I'll say. He had a really uncharacteristic moment by foot in the back half, where his kick to I think it was actually Saad El-Hawli. His kick to Saad sailed over his head and resulted in a turnover. But for the most part, he was rebounding. He was using the footy as well as you can in those conditions, even putting his body on the line a bit. That's what I liked from this game. There was a moment in the middle of the ground, a kick kind of sat in the air for like half an hour, and he waited under it, parked himself under it to take the mark, knowing he would get absolutely clattered by a Sydney player if he did so. And he did take the mark and did get clattered, but stuck with it anyway, which is good. And I think early in the game as well, he came up with a busted lip, I think I heard. But yeah, for the most part, he was okay with the footy. Not as damaging and elite as usual. That can probably be down to the conditions. They don't suit the type of footballer he is. But the good thing is, this game shows us that he's not just a nice footballer who's got good ball skills. He's pretty tough as well. He gave us something else to discuss with his toughness at the contest. 22 touches, 15 of them were kicks, 6 intercepts, 6 rebound 50s, solid effort. Saad El-Hawli. So I'm recording this right before the AFL starts. It starts in about 10 minutes. Actually, it starts pretty soon. I should probably stop. But yeah, I'm not sure if he had managed minutes or something. He was tearing it up early, but then at the end, of the game, he was just kind of gone a little bit. I think by halftime he had 10 or 11 touches. At the end of the game he has 15. I don't know if it was managed. I don't know if it was rested minutes. I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully someone can tell me. I'm sure the answers will be out later tonight. But nah, yeah, it started off a little bit chaotic. There were some moments in his game which were just a little bit rash, given the circumstances, but that is nitpicky because he was one of our better players when he was up and about. He was doing really good things, taking really strong marks at some stages, taking the game on, trying to inject pace, using the ball by foot, 15 touches, but 14 of them by kicks, so that is good. He was progressing it forward. 5 tackles, yeah, his pressure was really good as well. It was just a genuinely good game from Saad El-Hawli. It was a good response to being dropped, And I'm going to assume he was being managed late in the game and taken off for long rests, because he did just kind of drop off the face of the earth after halftime. Not really sure what happened. And finally, Archer Day-Wicks, he started off in a weird way. He had some goofy moments, some big turnovers, some costly turnovers. And then, like Saad, he also got a bit quiet by the end of things as well. Like, I checked his stats after the game and I was surprised to see just the 12 disposals. It felt like he had more of an impact than that. So I guess that's a positive when you see players, and think they had more of an impact than their stats suggest. They passed the eye test. I liked his defensive intent. Tackles, do stick more when he lays them. He can probably do more to get in that position to lay them to begin with. Work a bit on his tank maybe, but his strength in tackling is definitely a highlight in the last few weeks. He's really worked around that defensive side of his game, which is good. With ball in hand, I think it's just a bit about being more simple. Like, there are some kicks that you just don't need to take, and I get the risk versus reward. Like, you want players that take on the risky kicks, but the kicks that he takes that are risky, there's not much reward with them sometimes. Like, there was one, I think, sideways kick to Saad El-Hawli, which was so lucky that he marked it, because if he didn't, it would have been a goal over his head. But no, yeah, quite a game. Not as quiet as the stats suggest. I thought he was probably the least impactful of the guys I've talking about today, but I didn't think he was bad. He was better than the last few weeks at least. He'd been really quiet up until this point. But that is that. Cheers for watching, Bomber fans. That is me done. I am now going to tune into the AFL game quick smart to watch that, because it's rare that I record a VFL game before the AFL. And by the way I watched this game, I should say, because I was watching the Talent League before this, I had watched a bit of the first quarter of this. Then when the Talent League finished, I watched the second half, and then I tuned back into halfway through the first to finish. So it was I could be all over the place with this, because I watched this game in such a strange way. But yeah, that's all. Cheers for watching, Bomber fans. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and as always, go Bombers.